Welcome to this brand new episode of Cast It to the King. I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, and we are going to get things right off with the following, with this brand new episode, brand new show, all that wonders and works with it, and we'll see how this goes. And for those of you joining for the first time, be sure you tighten up that like button, comment below, and subscribe to this channel for brand new info regarding Titans content and all the works about it going forward. Now, the overview of this game is that this, for 95% of this game, was a defensive brawl. This was a brawl of a game between two top heavyweights on defense. And the thing that's going to be killing the Titans in this game, and the title of this video is, and we'll get into it, is that this is the ultimate screw job on multiple fronts. Because besides the overarching thing of this defense was really good, it held Denver to the vast majority of the game to just 13 points. And yet on multiple fronts, we got screwed over by the referees. We got screwed over by Sean Payton in several aspects. And we got screwed over by our very own Brian Callahan, our head coach, who this year, even though this is a rebuilding year, I understand that. But we are in this. But with this particular game, this game is, you are under a microscope as a head coach of the Tennessee Titans. When you have this kind of game right here, when you're under this small of a microscope right here, is you have a game within reach. You are just down 1 point at halftime after Chimere Dike showing off that speed, which, by the way, and we'll get into it in one of our segments about our defense and special teams, there is a reason now, and we now know officially, that Dike was held out of the preseason for this reason: his speed and his return skills. They did not want to show it off in the preseason until the regular season rolled around. And what happened when he got that chance on a kickoff return? He bailed out Brian Callahan in such a big way to almost essentially tie it up at the end of the half. Now, let's get into the first few topics on hand right here. The offense overall with this particular game. How did Cam Ward do in his first ever game as a Tennessee Titan? He, for the vast majority of this game, has been, I would say, overall with this game, before the last few portions of the game where they were just diming up things of like just for diming up sakes, is that it felt like this was a constrained version of Cam Ward. Now, you're going up against probably a top 10, top 5 NFL defense and the Denver Broncos. I get it. And you're going up against a front that is salivating over this particular front of the Titans, where every single one of them is pretty much in a brand new spot to start off the year in terms of continuity and chemistry with the offensive line. In terms of Cam Ward overall specifically, though, he played like a veteran. He played like he did not make the bonehead mistakes that Will Levis did last year in Week 1, which would have definitely lost us this game well early on in this game. And in terms of stat lines, there's nothing to be surprised about. Because with Cam Ward and what happened today, I understand the whole premise of you want to not throw your rookie to the wolves. I understand that. But I don't understand why in professional sports, if you have a really good rookie at the position of need, why are you constraining him just because he's a rookie for constrainment's sake? Like even Mike Vrabel back in 2019 when we had A.J. Brown as a rookie, he was constrained in terms of how many play calls he got as a rookie. It wasn't until year 2 where he finally popped off because, wow, surprise, surprise, you open the playbook up for him and see what happens after that. In terms like with Cam Ward, though, I mean, yeah, I understand you trying to protect your quarterback against a ferocious front. We all understand that, but over with the small sample size that he had, with the decision making he made, that first drive where he is under pressure, you're thinking, oh, 3 now, typical Titans, here we go again. Just brushes it off and just dumps it off to a wide open guy and Tony Pollard, which is a staple we've seen so many times with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen so many times with Patrick Mahomes where it's like, oh, you think you got him? It's like, oh no, he just found someone. There goes that receiver down the field, possibly for a score. And then finally, when he was able to throw the ball, there was one he missed to Calvin Ridley down the middle, which could have been a touchdown, granted. But the rest, his veterans, did not do him any favors whatsoever. None whatsoever. I've said on my socials before the regular season is that when we first found out that DK was going to be the returner on special teams, I said, you know what? Let's go ahead and open it up. Let's have the youth movement. Let's have Io Manor. Let's get DK involved in special teams. Let's see what Gray can do on defense. And when Winston gets back from injury, let's see what he can do at the safety position. Let's see what we got. Gunnar Helmet, tight end. Let's see what we got. Let's unleash the youth movement and see what prizes potentially await us. Either with these players that turn out to be really good, or if they stink, we can draft a generational talent at the top of the draft for next year's draft when we get a high pick for that. But overall, Cam Ward's stat line is not gonna jump off of anybody's screens. 12 of 28, 122 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no turnovers, essentially, for the big portion of this game. And then I feel like I don't know if I want to go out of order with this. I'm going to stay on order with this. We're going to talk about the O-line right here. The O-line, on paper, was vastly improved over the offseason. Vastly improved. What happens in this game? And I understand this is the caveat that this is a top 10, top 5 front. That any team could win a Super Bowl with this front. Have a really good shot at that. If Baltimore or Buffalo or Kansas City had Denver's defense, they'd definitely be heavy, heavy favorites to be in the Super Bowl and win it. That's for sure. But in terms of this O-line in particular, J.C. Latham went away with an injury, and we'll find out what that is. But before the injury, you had vets like Peter Skoronski, like J.C. Latham, like the guard that we picked up from Detroit, who's supposedly good that I'm told about. Mr. Reliable Iron Man is pretty much what he's called. I have these 3 vets that are supposed to be good. Let down my quarterback with rookie-related penalties and mistakes. This team, this is not just for the O-line. Today, for today's game, this team is very, very undisciplined. Very undisciplined. And we'll get into one particular player on defense with Jarvis Brownlee. Very undisciplined with this team. This offensive line did Cam Ward no favors for the majority of this game. There are portions where, yes, when it needed to be had, the offensive line gave him time. And when you give him time, he can make good throws. Shocking concept. You have a good offensive line, and your quarterback can do really good. Shocking concept. I know, right? Dan Moore, who has gotten a lot of slack when we signed him from Pittsburgh. If you watch Pittsburgh, and if you know anyone from Pittsburgh, they will tell you that the vast majority of his sacks given up was because of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Dan Moore had the horrible holding penalty way early on in the game. Overall, though, We'll find out later this week what the Pro Football Focus stats are on him. Overall, the eye test, he didn't do bad, which is much better than previous years we've had at the left tackle spot. Not bad is what we can take this year, and I will take that any chance I can get it because with this particular team, Cam Ward needs the protection and he needs the time so he can go through his reads and see, so we can see if he's actually a good quarterback, so we can actually see and test if he is. With last year being what it was with the offensive line, with the right tackle spot just being a swinging door, Will Levis still had plenty of time to get the ball off, and it wasn't because of the offensive line that we lost a majority of our games last year. It's because of quarterback play and turnovers. Tony Pollard, with that fumble, again, this is going to be the thing with this team. Turnovers, because we can't score enough points. Until we can score enough points, turnovers are going to be so fragile with this team that whenever they make it, it's going to hurt us more so than with a normal team if they turn the football over. Oh, Lamar Jackson throws one interception. That's fine. They can score 28 points later. Oh, Mahomes throws a horrible pick or he fumbled the football. He can score 20 other points on a dime after that. This team, over the years, and it's looking like this year's going to be no different, turnovers that we commit, and this is the one thing I credit Cam Ward for, is that he did not do any Will Levis-related type moves to fumble a football or throw a bad interception. He threw the right reads out there, granted. But overall, this team cannot be turned the football over like it did today, and this is going to be a one heck of a headache going forward if this is the case. Now, let's talk about defense and special teams. You may be confused if you see a chyron that says it looks as good as ever. And this defense in the special teams looks as good as it's ever looked in a long, long time. We saw this last year with the defense. Denard Wilson, very aggressive, can stuff you like brick walls with his schemes and his play calling. Can stuff you. And the special teams really showed up. Special teams showed up today. DK with the return. We know what he can do as a return. He's got that speed. Now you know after this game that he can. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he does game 2 now at home versus the Rams. This defense gives this off like this defense deserves its flowers and its roses. This defense did as much as you could have asked them to do. As much as you could have asked them to do. You give up 90% of the game through. Only 13 points to a bona fide Bo Nix, Sean Payton-led Denver Broncos offense. 13 points for the vast majority of the game. And then it's not until later on in the fourth quarter, I believe, where the running back finally burst through the hole because the defense has worn down. The defense has worn down because they can't keep up this intensity if the offense can't do its job and score touchdowns instead of field goals. And so, with that being said, Big Jeff really showed out today. Big T Sweat on the 4th and inches versus Bo Nix, clobbering that line. I'm not saying this is tush push proof, but I would love to see our defensive front versus the Philadelphia Eagles in a tush push after today. It gets me salivating of what that might look like, my friend. Now, for this next part, just to touch up one last thing on the special teams, is that Joey Sly, he looked a little shaky in preseason. A lot of us were wondering, could he be on the outs? I know we got rid of Nick Folk because we got a guy that's younger by 10 years and has a bigger leg. I get it. And he nailed all of his field goals. Kicker's not an issue this current week. We'll reassess this next week and see how he does with the kicker spot. Now, defensively, one guy needs to be looked at. No, two guys need to be looked at under the microscope, and that's this. And I'm just going to get this out of the way. L'Jarius Sneed, you're under the microscope, my friend. You come out looking the way you did. Look good. You look good coming back from an injury. And you're a ghost for the rest of the game. Sneed is nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found after he has said to us all offseason he's ready for week 1. He's going to be ready for week 1. He was ready for a few series. But after that, it was up to Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and Baker. And for the most part, the defense turned the ball over like it was supposed to. Not like it was supposed to. Surprisingly turned the football over. Because last year we saw them bring the heat with the Bears, but we were this close to turn the football over. Couldn't do it. This year they actually do it. They actually get the turnovers. I believe the stat count today was about 4 to 5 turnovers that we forced from them. 5 turnovers you get in your favor, and you give up for the vast majority of the game 13 points. The defense did its job. They did its job, and it's up to the offense to answer with touchdowns and reward them, not punish them with field goals, to expecting to come back on the field, as you saw famously in a shot, and they mentioned it, the broadcasters did, with Big Jeff Simmons, how he looked long-winded. Yes, those big guys can't run with that same aggressiveness for all 60 minutes of the game. You can't do it, especially with a slim lead like that. The defenses like that need a cushion. They need a cushion of touchdowns in order for them to maybe give up a break or two and still give you high production on the defensive front. You need that for your defense. Now, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., you're becoming the new version of Christian Fulton, in my opinion. You cannot get out of the way. I understand last year you're a rookie, you're a little bit slow. Maybe the ref screwed you over a few times. We get it. It happens all the time with us Titans fans. The Vikings game, anybody? When the safety was called for unnecessary roughness, how is he supposed to tackle the guy? We understand the referees aren't ever in our favors, but you got to work with that. Now, Jarvis Brownlee Jr., some of the most unexplainable penalties that have cost us 3-and-outs, third down stops. If you want to be a dominant defense and give your offense as many opportunities as you cannot be making those mistakes. And when you make those mistakes on third down, that makes your defensive line even more long-winded because they're thinking, yes, we got to stop. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, man, I got to put my hand in the dirt again, and we got to do this all over again at least 3 more times. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. needs to step up his game. He needs to not get in the way in terms of these penalties. In his rookie year, it's understandable. You are a rookie. Year 2, you are a veteran. There is no excuse for you to make these sorts of penalties anymore. And one guy I will give props to, Amani Hooker, just got the new deal the other day. And he almost got another $27 million guaranteed had he had that pick 6 versus Bo Nix in this game. He was really close to pulling off a pick 6 and winning the game, which would have resulted in winning the game for the Tennessee Titans most likely if he pulls that off. Did well. He did well. Now, for the elephant in the room, Brian Callahan. How will we grade his performance, one might ask? Some are gonna say it's a choke job. I'm gonna say it is a choke job. I'm gonna say it is, because you look at this again. I understand you have a rookie. No, this is my frustration when it comes to. It's like we don't want to really play our rookies that much because they're rookies and we'll ease them into it per se. This was my frustration when we first drafted John Morant in Memphis. As a Grizzlies fan, you know you have a generational talent, and yet he's getting rookie restriction minutes, for crying out loud. He's your starting point guard, and he only got 27 minutes when he should be averaging 33, 35 minutes again a night. Cam Ward should not be averaging 1 to 2 to 3 pass plays a drive. It should not be 70-30 run or 80-20 run. The play breakup cannot be like that. It cannot be 80% or, God forbid, for some of the drives it was 90-10 run plays. You want to talk about the ultimate Jeff Fisher-isms or Malarkey-isms or Vrabel-isms? Even Vrabel for some of these instances wouldn't do it this much. He would do it, but not this much. My goodness. And it brought up like this meme, right? And it brought up this meme. And I want to show it right here for you. From Scary Movie, where he's like, run! Run! That's all it seemed like with Brian Callahan and his play calling today. It's just him yelling in Cam Ward's ear, run! Run! Just all runs. And Pollard cost us a turnover, unfortunately. He's not a bellwether cow. As much as I love the guy, he's from Memphis. I love guys from Memphis that rip nationwide. I love them. You are not a bellwether cow running back. You are not Derrick Henry. And yes, for the whole thing of like, oh, if we had Derrick Henry, we would have won the game. No, we still would have been the same results that we're in. We wouldn't even have Cam Ward if we still stuck with Derrick Henry. So let's just move on from that. There needs to be, and I think maybe this is just growing pains of the season, because we're probably going to address it in the offseason with a new running back. Probably in free agency or the draft. Because Tony Pollard is a switch-up type of guy. He is not known for a bellwether type of run at the running back position. And when he is trying to be the bellwether guy, there's risk that he could get hurt. And then there's instances today where he'll fumble the football inadvertently because a defender had the right angle on him for a small frame carrying the football. Small frame for running back standards. But Brian Callahan, head coach of the Tennessee Titans, you look at this game right here, you are given a gift. Multiple breaks, multiple gifts from the football gods. You have a perennial high-flying offense. And for the vast majority of the game, your team holds them to 13 points. 13 points. And you still, before I get to that point, you held them to 13 points and you force 5 turnovers. Your kicker's making all of his kicks. You have a good returner in Chimendike. You have Cam Ward, where the vast portion of that first few quarters, when he was throwing the ball to Gunnar Helm, to DK, to Io Manor, that you may have something. And yet you fumble your way as a coach. He found a way to choke a 5-turnover, 13-point give up of a defensive gift. I've said all offseason that this year, Brian Callahan isn't going to be fired. He's not in danger of losing his job. But games like this will cost him his job, potentially mid-season. games like this where the offense is not showing signs of progression, it's showing signs of regression, that'll get you fired. That will get you fired. And Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker will bring in their guy. They will bring in their guy for head coach. And we're going to be on this carousel again of head coach in, GM out, GM out, head coach in, head coach in, GM out, GM out, head coach in, and so on and so forth until we can finally line it up like we're supposed to. Cliff Kingsbury is supposedly top candidate to be a head coach. I don't know about that. But overall, because if you watch the all-22 film last year with Brian Callahan's play calling was not an issue. There were segments when I was a guest on the Titan Coliseum podcast where we would look at frame by frame, clip by clip of wide open reads that Will Levis and Mason Rudolph blatantly, criminally missed inadvertently. And with that, coming into this year, with that mindset, you have a new quarterback who's better than Will Levis. We were going to see some signs of growth, right? We're going to see some shots down the field, right? We didn't get none of that. Today, we got essentially a play calling scheme as if Will Levis was still the quarterback. This game plan today is right up there if Will Levis or Malik Willis was our quarterback today. That's what it felt like on offense. It felt like Callahan has no faith in the quarterback spot. He doesn't want to fully give the reins over to Cam Ward just yet. It felt like that type of game. And as a fan, that frustrates me. Because you are in this thing for the long haul, you think. You are in this. This is a rebuilding team. We know there are going to be highs and lows. The job is not to completely protect your quarterback from harm. Your goal is for him to go out there, and if he makes those mistakes, let him make those mistakes. And let him learn from them. Let him learn from them so he can do better the next go around. So he can do better the next time he's out. And so this game had everything for you. It had such high-powered awesomeness of defensive play. This had crazy wackiness from the referees. This had so many elements of what was Brian Callahan thinking of. This has elements of, you can see Cam Ward be so calm. That's the thing that I will give Cam Ward his praise yet again to. Again, you have to watch the game and not look at the stat line here. His poise in the pocket, despite all that was going on around him, that was bad. He felt calm. He just hopping around. Throw against the backside. Throw against his body. Like that. There's Calvin Ridley. He caught that one. He's in the pocket. He's maneuvering. He has pocket awareness, something we haven't had in years. He senses the pressure. Someone's grabbing me. Oh, there's my flat. There goes Tony Pollard. Bye. See you. You see such elements. It's just a matter of putting it all together. Now I'm trying to think in my head of how much I have covered Titans games. And I know this being the first episode of this particular show. But in the previous show that I am still doing called Cast It to the King, where I cover some Titan stuff on there, I cannot think off the top of my head what was a game that we won and I came on here solo, jam-packed, happy about. I can't think of one. The games that we won, my dad was in town. And I was going through chemotherapy. When those sort of things were going down. Because, now that I'm thinking about it, there was a game, two. The Chargers and Bengals 2 years ago in 23. That was with, I was doing a walk and talk with the Chargers, and then for the Bengals, it was a big smoke and mirrors. I saw that it's big smoke and mirrors. I didn't let that game fool me because look what happened next week later. Choke job versus the Colts. And the unraveling in real time with Mike Vrabel. And so, as we close up shop here, we're going to overview this next thing here. And just from today's perspective and view, how are we looking in terms of our next matchup versus the Rams? Now, on paper, before the season started, let's say the Rams play the Titans week 1 instead of week 2. And the Titans get the same pressure on Matthew Stafford that they got on Bo Nix. The Rams better be having extra blockers. Because if Matthew Stafford really is suffering with a rotator disc or a disc problem in his back, and he has Sweat, Femi, or Big Jeff Simmons hit him in the wrong particular way, there goes the Rams season. Bye. See ya. You were close to the NFC Championship game last year? Too bad. Hopefully Jimmy Jesus can do something good for you. This, again, if I'm going to bring up comparisons, this has the eerie similarities of so much frustration when we lost to the Cardinals and Kyler Murray at home, week 1 in 2021. And then the following week later, going into Seattle, the 12th man, everyone in the Titan community and everyone in the media was like, you lost to Kyler Murray. God forbid how you're going to do versus the Seahawks and Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson back in their primes. We go in there and win the game. It would not surprise me if we came out in Nashville and Cam Ward lit it up for 3 touchdowns or so, and we win the game like 27-17 or 27-20 or 28-21 or 30-something, 20-something. It would not surprise me if that happened. Will it happen? Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. But, again, this year, and hopefully Callahan can finally get some screws loose in his head. Some screws screwed up in his head. To embrace the youth movement. If anything to take away from this particular episode of the Titan Upcast is this. And Brian Callahan and everyone in the Titans organization and all the fans listening here, if you're watching, embrace the youth movement. Embrace it. Let's see what Gunnar Helm can be as a feature tight end. Let's see some end-around packages for DK. Let's see some crossing routes to Illegal Io Manor one-on-one and going up against someone. Let's see what Cam Ward can do, dicing up a defense and commanding an offense and an offensive line. There was a play. I can't remember when, if it was in the third or fourth. I want to say it was the third quarter. No, I actually want to say it was the fourth quarter. It was the fourth quarter where Cam Ward, even though he missed on the throw, either he missed on the throw or the receiver dropped it, where he was telling the center and the O-line, hey, these guys over here on my left, take care of them. They're going to be a problem. And that opens up a good O-line for Cam Ward. That sort of thing is something we have not had the quarterback position for years. For years. Since the 2019 version of Ryan Tannehill. Embrace the youth movement. That's my message to the Titans this year. Don't expect to go into the playoffs this year. You are not C.J. Stroud and you are not Jaden Daniels type of teams. We are not that type of team yet. We can be, but we don't know yet. And we, as far as right now, we are not. And so, with that all being said, we're going to close up shop with that. And thank you for tuning in for this first ever episode of the Titan Upcast. I'm your host, Joshua Mickle, and we'll see you later.